It was a quiet drive, no music, no podcasts. Just the steady hum of the tires on the road, and the low buzz of my thoughts. I wasn't just leaving Laura. I was making sure she felt the weight of what she had done. By the time she walked back into that house, she would understand just how alone she truly was. I drove to a small motel on the outskirts of town, and paid in cash, no digital footprint. I didn't want her tracking me down. Didn't want the theatrics, or her fake tears when she realized her safety net was gone. That night, I slept better than I had in months. The next morning, I checked my phone, expecting the storm to have begun. Nothing. I frowned. She hadn't noticed yet. I gave it a few more hours, checking the time, wondering what she was doing. Maybe she had stayed the night with him. Maybe she had spent the whole day lost in her little fantasy, blissfully unaware that her world was already crumbling. Then at 11:32 a.m., the first text came in. Laura, hey, did you move some money around? The bank app is acting weird. A smirk played on my lips. I let her sit in that uncertainty a little longer before shutting off my phone. I wasn't ready to talk. Not yet. I had one last thing to do. I drove to the office she shared with her affair partner. I knew his name now, Adam. I had taken my time gathering information over the past week, combing through company records, checking team pages, finding the little details Laura thought she could keep hidden. Adam was exactly the type. The kind of guy who prided himself on being a man's man. The type who thought he was untouchable, that he could take another man's wife and walk away without consequences. He was well-dressed, well-groomed, and full of himself. Everything about him screamed smug. So I made sure he had a surprise waiting. I had sent a carefully worded email to HR, complete with screenshots of their texts, explicit messages, plans for meetups during work hours, expense reports that lined up a little too perfectly with their little getaways. The kind of evidence that didn't just suggest an inappropriate workplace relationship, but screamed it. The kind of evidence that could end a career. By Monday morning, Adam would walk into his office expecting business as usual. Instead, he'd find himself under formal investigation. And Laura? She'd be drowning in panic, watching everything spiral out of her control. I finally turned my phone back on late that afternoon. Laura had sent over 20 messages in the last few hours, each one growing more frantic. Laura, Nathan, where are you? Laura, we need to talk. Laura, did you take all the money? Laura, what the hell is going on? Laura, what did you send to my job? I smirked, watching her unravel in real time. I let her sit with the fear a little longer, then hit dial. The second she answered, her voice was shaky, breathless, desperate. Nathan, where are you? What's happening? I stayed quiet for a second, just long enough for her to feel the weight of her panic. Then calmly I said, Morning, Laura. Don't morning me. What the hell is this? My card isn't working, the bank says the accounts are empty, and... She let out a frustrated breath. My boss called me into HR this morning. Do you have any idea? I know it sounds strange, but I'd rather know the truth than live in the dark. I nodded, even though Michelle couldn't see me. Yeah. There was a pause before she asked, Hey, does Laura know yet? I chuckled. Not yet, but she will soon. Michelle exhaled. Good. I hope she drowns in it. We said our goodbyes, and I sat back, waiting for the next explosion. It didn't take long. 30 minutes later, Laura called. You bastard, she spat, her voice shaking with rage. Ah, so you figured it out, I said lazily. You ruined everything. Adam just told me his wife is divorcing him. She went to his boss, and now he's been fired. I grinned. Perfect. Her voice broke. He said he can't be involved with me anymore. There it was. Her lifeline had been cut. Her safety net gone. The man she threw me away for had tossed her aside like trash. Wow, I said, feigning sympathy. That's rough, Laura. You set me up, she whispered. You set me up, and I was too stupid to see it. I didn't respond. Because she was right. She sniffled, her breath hitching. Nathan, she said, her voice softer now. Can we talk? I smirked. Talk about what? She hesitated. About us. I actually laughed. Oh, Laura, I said, shaking my head. There is no us. Her breath shuddered. Click. I hung up. Her world was officially in ruins. Her bank account empty, her lover gone, her reputation shattered. But I wasn't done. Not yet. I wasn't finished until I saw everything collapse around her. I had taken her money. I had destroyed her affair. I had watched Adam's life crumble to dust. But there was still one last thing left to do. She needed to understand, really understand, that there was no coming back from this. And for that, I needed to see her face to face. That evening, I drove back to the house. Our house. The place where we built a life together. The place where she used to smile at me. The place where she brought home another man. I didn't feel sadness anymore. I felt nothing. I parked down the street and waited. At exactly 9:47 p.m., Laura's car pulled up. She stepped out slowly, her shoulders slumped, her once perfect posture crumbling under the weight of everything she had lost. Her makeup was smudged, her hair, usually pristine, was a mess. For the first time in her life, she looked small. Like a woman who had just woken up to the wreckage of her own choices. I got out of my car and walked up the driveway. She froze when she saw me. "Nathan," she whispered. I leaned against the doorframe, blocking her way inside. She swallowed hard. "Can we talk?" "Sure," I said. "But you're not coming inside." Her breath hitched. "Nathan, please don't do this." I folded my arms. "Do what, Laura?" "Exactly what you did to me." Her eyes shone with unshed tears. "I know I screwed up," she said, her voice breaking. "But we had something. You and me, we built a life together." I tilted my head. "And you threw it away." "I wasn't thinking," she admitted, her voice cracking. "I thought I needed something different, but when Adam—" She shook her head, biting her lip. "When he left me, I realized it was always supposed to be you, Nathan." I raised an eyebrow. "Huh. That's funny." I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "You didn't say that when you were lying to my face every night. When you were sneaking out, texting him, meeting him in hotel rooms." Her lip trembled. "You weren't thinking about me then," I continued. "You weren't thinking about us. You were only thinking about yourself." She nodded quickly, gripping my arm. "I was selfish. I see that now." I looked down at her hand, then very deliberately pulled away. She flinched like I had slapped her. "Nathan," she whispered. "I'm not here to forgive you," I said simply. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I pulled a small envelope from my jacket pocket and tossed it onto the porch. She stared at it, then at me. "What's this?" "Your divorce papers." Her breath hitched. "No. No, Nathan, please." I turned away. "It's done," I said firmly. "Sign them. Send them back to my lawyer." And then, a soft, broken sob escaped her lips. She collapsed onto the porch, shoulders shaking. I turned and walked back toward my car. And just before I got in, I called over my shoulder. "Oh, and one more thing." She looked up, eyes bloodshot. "I put the house up for sale this morning." Her face drained of color. No, Nathan, you can't. "It was never in your name," I said smoothly. "So yeah, I can." I opened the car door. And with one final glance, I added, "Enjoy your new life, Laura." Then I drove away. For good.